Well, let's move on now. Indigenous leader Pat Dodson claims Australia's commitment to practical reconciliation is not enough and is calling for inherent sovereign rights. Now, I'd be interested to know what sovereign rights he's talking about, bearing in mind 60% of us voted no to the sort of division where one person is granted rights over another based on the colour of their skin. Now, in a speech this week at a reconciliation event in WA, the former Labor senator said, if we are to have meaningful reconciliation in this country, the nation must come to grips with our inherent collective rights as First Peoples. To reframe reconciliation as solely practical risks displacing the national conscience, the historical root causes of structural inequality, reinforces a form of psychological terra nullius that has been likened to a collective amnesia about the past, which becomes manifest in an ideological inability to come to grips with and accommodate the inherent sovereign rights of an Indigenous people in a modern nation state. Joining me now for more on this is Warren Mundine from the Indigenous Forum, the Centre for Independent Studies. He's the Indigenous Forum Director there. Warren, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Pat Dodson talks there about sovereign rights. What is that? Is it a right to have more than another person? What do you think he means there in terms of reconciliation?
Well, there was an important anniversary this week. It was the anniversary of the 1967 referendum. That was the referendum that wanted to get race out of the Constitution, and it was a battle that Aboriginal people fought at the time to be treated as equals, to be treated as full citizens of this country. 90% of Australians voted in that to support that. You know, I wish some of the current, not all, because not all the Aboriginal leadership is the same, had those same sentiments. People like Pat Dodson, I wish he had the same sentiments in regard to that. We get treated all the same. We're all citizenships. And, you know, in regard to the sovereignty issue, we have sovereignty already. We're citizens of this country. We enjoy all the sovereignty rights of this country. In fact, we have gotten benefits from the sovereignty rights of that country, of this country, and that is in regard to native title. The High Court decision in regard to native title saying that we had rights and that terra nullius is now doesn't exist anymore. From that, just recently the High Court decision said that's property rights for Aboriginal, so it's treated as proper property rights. Like you get all the same things that other property people get. You know, you have this amazing thing about billions of dollars are spent annually in funding Aboriginal programs, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander programs. You have incredible, things in regard to the mining industry and energy industry and other industries who donate and also give royalties to Aboriginal people in regard to their activities. You have heritage legislation. The list just goes on and on. In fact, we were involved in the former Liberal Party government's business.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you as well, because at this same Reconciliation WA event, the WA Premier, Roger Cook, announced a stolen generation redress scheme. It will give $85,000 of taxpayer money to every living Aboriginal person removed from their family in WA before July 1972. Warren, OK, I understand reconciliation and I understand that we can accept that bad things did happen, but what's the burden of proof now for what happened a long time ago?
Yeah, I've got to declare I was involved in one of the cases that they had, which was in regard to the stolen wages. Now, just a little bit of quick history of that. Stolen wages happened between 1909 right to 1970, where people worked for their wages but they never received their money, which is a different question which you're talking about in regard to the stolen generation. Yes, there was a legal process in the past that dealt with a number of people who are put in institutions and so on. This is a follow-on from that in regard to that case. Now, to me, it's there is some questions about it because some people, quite frankly, needed to be taken away from their families because they were very much in danger and stuff like that. But there are other people who were taken away. You look at what happened in the Northern Territory in Western Australia and some other places as well. So, how they're going to divide that up, how they're going to do that, I I don't know.
No, it's just, my question is, what's the burden of proof here? But
well, there has to be a burden of proof.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now, I just want to speak to you about the Liberal Party's new voice on Aboriginal affairs. Karen Little says that much of the left's truth-telling ignores the nation's many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander success stories. She's told The Australian, I'm talking about making sure that we actually recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are a cohort in the Australian community, but not everyone in that cohort identifies or is defined by the same parameters. She says it is disingenuous to suggest that every Aboriginal person is impoverished because that is not true. Is she right?
Me and you and James joked one day about the millions and millions of dollars, and I joked and I said, yes, I need some of that money as well.
I remember.
Well, in actual fact, it's not true.
Yeah.
There are a great number of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are doing fantastic things and are doing great things. In fact, we only just saw this week Brad Welsh, who's the CEO of ERA, the mining company in the Northern Territory, got the award of one of Australia's leading directors of companies. This is the way forward. We should not be treating people all the same. We should be treating them on needs. There are Aboriginal people out in regional and remote Australia who are struggling. There are non-Aboriginal people out there in remote and regional Australia struggling too. So they all should be treated the same in regarding to access to services, in regard to access to support and help. And that's what we should be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely fair enough. Warren Mundine, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening. Really appreciate your time.